Gentlemen No Class is proud to be a part of the HC Universal Network. Gentlemen No Class is produced, mixed, and edited by M5 Studios.
This podcast contains explicit language and is intended for adult audiences. The views and opinions of Gentlemen No Class are strictly for comedic purposes and should not be taken literally. For instance, like this disclaimer. Now grab yourself a pint and enjoy.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Gentlemen No Class, a podcast. And when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. I'm Jake.
I'm Isaias.
I'm Paul.
And I'm Rob.
And like it or not, gentle ladies and gentlemen, we are the hosts for tonight's episode.
Them dicks.
What?
Did you say and dicks?
Them dicks.
Oh,
them
them
dicks.
dicks. Yeah, of course. Well,
Go on.
Why not?
I'm glad that we used the visual cues because when Eddie was on here, I tried that and he's blind. He couldn't see me and he totally missed it. Well, I mean, we were drinking. I forgot that he was blind by the end of it.
I forget sometimes too when I'm his close friend. Sorry, Eddie.
I mean,
You would laugh at
you lose track of it. I mean, he's really good at not at hiding it. You know,
No, for sure. Especially, and did y'all have this lighting on?
Yeah.
Poor guy.
He was tortured. He just didn't tell us. Fuck. It's fucked up.
Like, wait, he caught the mic pretty good. I mean, he was right on the mic. It's not
That's
like
what
We got him.
You
I was
lose-
next to him, and I make sure.
you lose track. You forget if you don't really think about it. You forget.
Is he like legally blind?
Oh, yeah.
Or-
Yeah, he can see, but
Yeah,
he still needs a little guidance sometimes.
Sure. Yeah, so I can see how you would forget that.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
he still looks at
I know
you
a
when
guy
you're
like
talking
10
and
years.
stuff, you know?
he's not
I forget,
fucking Ray Charles.
I forget
right?
all the
That's
time.
what I was saying. Yeah. If he's in here with like sunglasses,
No,
and,
he
like,
doesn't
you
wear
have to
sunglasses.
set him in place.
He's not that blind.
then I'd be like, dude, how would you forget?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
He doesn't need the sunglasses. He's not
You know
that
what I
like.
mean?
That's
Yeah, I
real
get-
blind.
What was that? What was that performance? Was it a Grammys performance with Stevie Wonder where he
Oh,
was playing and they
dude.
just left him on the stage and
no.
they had to come back
Really?
and get him?
They
Well-
forgot. Shit.
No, and there was another one where like people in the audience started walking out, and I'm like, yo, the rest of the band can see. Like, don't do that. You know? Like,
That's fucked up. That's fucked up, man.
So everybody joining us on tonight's podcast, Mr. Isaias Gill, the current drummer for Black Flag, just one of his many accomplishments. So, we're going to dive into, the life and career of Isaias Gill. I don't even really know where to start.
it's going to be short. It's going to be like 5 minutes.
It's going to be longer than 5 minutes. I'm
Give
sure.
yourself a little bit more credit.
Yeah, I mean,
No. Do that to him. Let him be.
I'll start with my background. So, like, I met Isaias. He was actually working for my dad.
Yeah.
He was working at the bank that my dad works at.
Oh, nice.
And my dad's a drummer and Gil's a drummer, so they hit it off, and
Yeah.
that was in like 2008, 2009. Because then you won Guitar Center's Drum Off
Right.
in 2010, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what kickstarted your career, kind of your professional drumming career, like full time, right?
Yeah. I'd been doing it after work. And actually, there was a period where I was working at the bank, and I don't know how I got connected with this artist out in Florida. And so Fridays, I would pack my bag, go to work, and then like fly out to Florida and fly back Sunday, and then be back at work on Monday.
Fuck,
Damn,
wow.
grind
Like,
it, baby.
doing recording gigs or just touring?
No, just recording. It was an album, and then we were playing a couple of live shows to test out songs. But it was just like a really crazy period looking back at it, because I thought it was just for fun and see where it goes, and now it's
Well,
what my
now
career.
look at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
That's awesome.
So I mean, let's start like kind of at the beginning. Like what gets you to the point? What got you to the point where you could win the Guitar Center Drum Off? Because I know, like in 2009, you came in second.
It was like 2006, or something like that. And they don't really tell you what place. It starts off, however many guitar centers they have throughout the U.S., and then drummers all compete, and then it just narrows down. At that point, it was down to the last four. So north, south, East, and West United States, represented by 4 drummers, and I was one of them. And I think the biggest thing for me was having fun. Like, there was so much importance in wanting to win it that I just put all this negative pressure, in that. And then finally, after trying many years, I was just like, man, I don't care. I'm gonna do this no matter what. So this is
Nice.
cool. And it was just having fun expressing that. I think that was the biggest click, the mind shift.
Yeah, and your winning performance is up on YouTube. If anybody wants to, you can Google 2010 Guitar Center drum off. And it's up on YouTube, and you look like you're having a fucking blast on stage.
Yeah.
You're changing shirts and stuff. You know what I mean?
Damn.
It's fucking great.
There was a cheese element to it, but it was just it was in good fun, but also just part of it. It was, and people wanted to see something, and they don't want to see someone out there like, these are the rudiments I practiced really hard in my garage. And it's like, no one wants to see that. So.
How long did they give you? Like, when you go in there,
You started at like 2 minutes for the stores, and then I think for the semifinals it went up to like 4 or 3.5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And the finals was 5 minutes, which when you're playing any instrument by yourself on stage in front of anybody, like, get creative. You have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Go.
That's a long time.
It's your lifetime. You're just there. You're like, maybe I should have picked up saxophone.
No, you got to change.
I wouldn't be here right now if I did.
Yeah.
You gotta change reeds and shit.
Yeah.
Fucking woodwind bullshit.
I should have totally incorporated like tuning and be like, I keep my head's even tension. And like, 5 minutes is like forever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. When I play, like, I've played a couple of gigs around town.
Is that word?
With you play with Charlie Harrison,
Yeah.
Charlie and the Regrets, and I've played bass for Charlie a couple of times, and
Yeah.
he's a fucking great guy. And Charlie, I mean, he's got some great players that play with him. I mean, obviously Gil's playing with him, but he's got a really great slide guitar player, and John Shelton plays lead
Willie.
with them. Yeah, Willie T
Yeah.
plays slide, and so I've subbed in on bass a couple of times, and that's like definitely the bottom of the rung, like walking into that
Oh, no
situation.
way, man.
And like, he loves to do stuff like everybody takes a solo, and like I never got around to telling Charlie, it's like, man, I don't do bass solos. I'm just not that kind of bass player. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I'm not showy. Like, we had Mark White on the bass player for the Spin Doctors.
Oh, yeah.
He was on the podcast a couple 30
months
episodes ago.
a few months
So.
ago.
And he's ultra showy. Like, when you talk about like his bass solos, anyway. So, yeah. And I remember we were doing a gig, and like, he was like, Charlie like did a round robin, and I was like, oh man, a bass solo. This is gonna be terrible. I was dreading it the whole day. Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst when you're thinking about it before you even get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're trying to think about what you're gonna play if you have to play something.
Yeah.
It just eats you up inside.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
pressure.
You're like, is this good? Well, I mean, I can imagine like being on a national stage like that. Yeah, help yourself, man.
Was I the only one thinking about Big Lebowski when you said round robin?
Yeah. I was thinking, am I wrong? Am I wrong? No.
What do you mean by, I don't know?
He says that. Walter
Does
says
he?
that. Round robin.
Like,
Am I wrong? No. Am I
Did we
wrong?
not advance to the next round robin?
No.
Am I wrong?
Well,
Am I wrong?
yeah, there you go.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Big
Anyway.
Lebowski.
Sorry, I don't have every line from that movie.
Well,
memorized.
excuse us. All
Who
right.
says round robin?
Rob does.
It's a thing.
No, it's not. You're making shit up.
Sorry.
This goes back to the whole, like, they make fun of me when I say, oh, I have a gig. Like, I have to go to a gig. And they're like, oh, you and your gig?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? They're
Make
like,
fun of his
because, like, when we used to be in a band together, and we're like, oh, we have a show. We have a show to go play. You know what I mean? It's like calling like a Coke.
Once you break a
soda
certain
out
age,
of-
A pop.
a pop.
Yeah.
There you go. A pop, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, can I get a pop?
Yeah, so what I told them, I was like, I equivalated it to like a show is like you're going to play like a showcase of your band.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
y'all, like we would go play a show
Yeah.
because it's original material. So if you're a hired musician, it's a gig.
It's a job. It's a pay.
I never thought of it.
I totally get that. However,
it just sounds funny.
You know, when you break a certain age, I expect
that's,
people to say gig.
Yeah.
You know, it just shows the age a little bit. For me, it's hilarious.
So you're calling me old.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're all old. I mean, nothing wrong with that.
Just say you're going to work.
There you go.
Fuck, man. That just sounds depressing, then.
And you better have dinner ready when I come back.
Yeah. Fuck.
I'm working hard for this dinner today.
That's funny.
Well, you know, you said earlier though, I think it was like the first time I don't know how many times did you do it? You said 2 times?
Oh no,
or several times?
Yeah, like, man, I can't even count. The drum off for me coming up was my drum lesson. I was self-taught, and so I would show up to these things and just watch drummers. You know, and after a little while, I got enough courage to think, or I was dumb enough to think I could do that.
Yeah.
You know, and started competing. But I would just show up because that was my drum lesson, man. Like, I've realized there's 2 kinds of drummers, and that's it. The guys that you ask them, hey, dude, what was that? And they're like, oh, yeah, man, it's just right kick, left, you know, over and over. And if you're counting, like, whatever, explains it to you, right? And the other kind is like, oh, man, that's my move, Bubba.
Those kinds, huh?
You know,
I think I've met
that's it.
A couple of those.
That is it. There's no one else. And so after I realized that, guys that would be like too cool for school and didn't want to share, I would always memorize their performances and then show up the next year and be like, oh, is this your move, Bubba?
Nice. Bubba. Nice. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Flexing it, man.
It wasn't even a flex. It was just like this weird, like, I have so much self-doubt that if someone tries to one-up me, I'm like, oh, you're better than me. I gotta. You know?
Son of a bitch.
Question. That's kind of the opposite of me because I have so much self-doubt. Like, somebody's better than me, I'm just like, well, I'm not going to be that good, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
See, but I mean, obviously, I think that too. But there's certain things where I'm like, you're doing it, and I don't know why I wouldn't be able to do it. You know. Or if someone,
that's a good mindset to have, though.
If someone tells me I can't do something,
cocky,
and doesn't have a legit like, if I went up to you and was like, "Hey, man, I want to be an astronaut," you're like, "Dude, you can't do that." I'd be like, "You're right. That's so stupid of me."
The spacesuits start at 6 feet tall, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm fucked.
You know. So, but if I was like, "Man, I want to learn guitar," and you're like, "Oh, you're not going to do that." I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not talking about going to the moon here.
Yeah.
You know, there's
so
a
that's
difference.
your cutoff. That's the difference.
Yeah. If we're talking about, like, I get to be an astronaut, I'm out. You know? But anything shy of that, see, I said shy, not short, because we have that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything shy of that.
Jake, you gonna ask him something?
I forgot.
You forgot.
I forgot.
No, because I had something
time to time in the podcast.
Well, no, the reason I brought if you didn't remember anything, I was just I was asking you because, like, how many times you did it, because earlier it sounded like you were, when you first started doing it, it sounded like you had a lot of you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself, and you arrived at a point. It's like, you know what, I just want to have fun.
Yeah,
and because like I see a psychologist, and like one of my biggest problems. I still deal with it, but I'm getting better at it. I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I know where you're coming from. Like when you tell yourself, like, you know, just I'm going to just do the best I can, and like you said, have that mindset. I want to enjoy it. I want to have fun. When you relieve all that pressure, like it just. I mean, it brings in like this confidence, like you just feel so much better.
It's something different.
Yeah. And I hear that where you're coming from. So it sounded like that's what eventually you arrive to that. And that's good to have that, because you put that pressure, just like I said, it just kills you. Yeah. And it ruins your performance. And just, let loose.
You hear it, you know?
Yeah.
For me, I think of music as like a language, right? And so just like we express, vernacular tells you so much, but sometimes in drums I don't get to have that tone or whatever, So my emotions really do come out while I'm playing. So you could hear that pressure. And it started as my yearly drum lesson, but then it just became something a little bit more. And that's where the pressure came in.
Yeah.
And up until recently, I finally saw doctors and all that. They were like, "Oh, well, you suffer from depression."
Yeah.
And everything kind of made sense.
Yeah,
like that
that
pressure and all that stuff. But giving it a name, giving it something now is not something I had then. So I just knew that I knew that this made me sad because I didn't win. But I didn't know why that even mattered because this only happened once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
And now I realize how much weight it carried because I love drums. And for the moment that I'm playing drums, I'm not thinking about being sad or anything, unless obviously there's pressure to that. But for that moment, or if I'm playing with a band, I'm not thinking about my bills. I'm not thinking about a fight with a girlfriend. I'm not thinking about any of that. Mm-hmm. All I'm thinking about is in that moment. It's there. And so coming to that realization, I guess it was like 2009 when, or no, 2010, sorry, when the contest started again, that's when I was like, man, I'm just going to have fun. Yeah. This is good for my soul. This is what I need. Yeah. And so, it just, that was the biggest shift for me.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like you were never good enough whenever you're drumming? Like your own worst critic?
Dude, I still feel that.
Yeah. Most creators do that.
Yeah.
I was going to say that.
That's
yeah, I mean,
I think that music
except Rob. Rob's very egotistical.
No,
he's like, hey, did you hear me on that bass solo?
Oh, you mean the one where you dropped that a key 3 times? Yeah, we heard you.
Oh, man, I was just vibing.
Y'all weren't on my level.
Bubba. Shit, I was on H sharp here, man.
That is a real note.
Is it really?
Yeah, H sharp. Yeah,
Get the fuck out of here.
It is. It's an octave. It is. It is. Look it up. I forget what it is, but it's like an octave. It is.
I don't believe you. I don't fucking believe you.
Okay, look it up after the.
No, I'm not going to look it up because it's not on the chromatic ladder. I don't believe it, man.
It goes just right back. It's a different way to notate. I think it's a B, like a notated a B up octave.
Sounds pretty stupid, but I don't know. I'm just saying because you're talking to a guy that was 6 years in band. Yeah. Come on, who do you think you're talking to?
I
was in band for a long time too,
but low level band.
I know when
too.
you get to G, it resets again, man.
I forgot most of that shit.
I think, and I'm not 100% certain about this, but I think that in a few keys, when you're looking at like the chords that are in that key.
Oh, right. Like
when you're talking about like if you're talking about where it skips over into the next octave but repeats the same chord, you use the H to represent the higher octave of that.
Okay, so
that's weird.
It's the seventh. You talking about the seventh?
It's basically
right before it gets to recycles.
Right. It would be technically the eighth.
The eighth. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
I think they use that as.
But that's weird.
Dude, why wouldn't they? If he's lying,
I know, right?
If he's lying,
super convincing, right?
He just took you guys.
Yeah,
and y'all were like, "Oh, I get it."
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I'm still not falling for it right now.
I still don't get it, but I can see the direction you're going.
I'm telling you, I've seen it on chord charts.
I think he's jerking us off.
So I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure that it exists.
Some a-hole's going to email us like, that Rob guy.
If
you got to get him out.
There was a device. If only there was a device that could give us this information.
After the podcast.
I know, right? I don't know what that is either.
We'll Instagram it later after the episode airs. I'll just Instagram a big giant letter H.
Fuck you.
And say, I was right.
Fuck off. That sounds ridiculous.
It does sound ridiculous.
I have to look this up.
You're going by the keys? Yeah, where it goes like major, minor, minor, major.
Yeah. When you're looking at a guitar chart, I'm pretty sure because that's the only. I don't read sheet music.
Whole half H.
It's basically like if it matters if you're gonna play like the tonic, like if you're gonna play the tonic E or if you're gonna play like the higher octave E. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like if that matters, then they notate it with a H. I think. I don't know that for sure. I know the H exists, though.
I'm glad I made a little pun or a little joke, and we've totally derailed this fucking podcast.
Yeah, that's what we do.
It's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. So, after the Guitar Center drum off, you did a lot of recording work. You were working in Houston. I followed your career for a while. You know, you obviously you're friends with my dad. We hung out a little bit in Nam in California.
Nam,
goddamn it, damn.
They don't know what Nam is. They don't know.
I know what it
I've
is.
explained it,
Of
but
course,
like
it's the Comic Con for musicians.
Dude, it's so much more.
I would
than
love
that.
to go there.
It's so
no
much
shit.
more than that. But yeah,
That's pretty perfect.
It's so much more than that.
it's
The Comic Con for musicians.
it's a pretty good app description.
Yeah.
I would love to go there. You know, but you
Yeah.
get celebrities fucking trying out new gear and everything. Yeah,
Well, I mean, most of the
Get
big
the
celebrities
musicians.
out there
I mean,
are signing.
musicians and shit like
Yeah,
that.
they're
No,
there
like
doing it.
Bob Saget is there
Bob
playing,
Saget, really?
playing a Martin guitar. You know,
Singing about
just-
Kimmy from
Dude,
what's it called?
That wouldn't surprise me because
He does play. I've seen him live.
Yeah.
my favorite Nam story is
A lot of blood involved.
no. My favorite Nam
Fucking
story
Nam.
is we were the year that I went. They had an In-N-Out burger set up in the Anaheim Convention Center.
Dude.
So we went and had In-N-Out burger, and we sat down and we were eating at the table, right? So it was me and my dad. And my dad's, he's 20 years older than I am, so different generation. So, and a bunch of his friends. So I'm there with them, like seeing the shit that I wanted to see, but like also at the same time, like, trying to appreciate like the legends and stuff like that. We were seeing cool shit. Of
course.
So I'm making it through the lunch line, getting my double, and I get back to the table and my dad's talking to this guy, and like he's this sleeved out guy with like some bleach tips and stuff like that. He's got like his readers on, and my dad's like showing him like the map of the convention center, and I was like, who is this guy? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, God, that guy looks super familiar. And it took me a couple minutes, and I was
Fieri?
like, holy shit, it's
Guy
Art
Fieri?
Alexakis from Everclear.
Oh,
Motherfucker.
And my dad has no idea who it is. No clue.
Awesome.
dude.
So I was like, holy
But
shit.
also, okay, so your dad's also the coolest, man, because he's like, he does not sweat.
Cooler than you, Rob.
He doesn't sweat.
Well,
What?
he didn't know who the fuck the guy
That's
was.
That's like a superpower. You can't
No.
sweat while playing drums?
You mean he doesn't perspire?
No, he
like,
doesn't.
No,
like when
like-
he drums?
No,
Or is this like metaphorically?
Yeah, metaphorically.
Okay.
I mean, I've never
Like he's
seen-
cool.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
cool.
It's like cool under pressure.
Yeah.
Take that,
I
Rob.
got you, I got
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But I've also never seen him sweat now that I'm thinking about it. So I don't know. I don't know.
Dad's got superpowers, Rob. We don't
Maybe
know
he has
about.
I have seen him sweat. He definitely sweats.
Okay.
Damn
He's
it.
well, anyway, he's super cool because, like, man, just the way he walks in. Well, when we were at NAMM, he walks in and people were like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" And like, he was the dude.
He
you
has
know?
this ability to. One of the things that really sets my dad apart from a lot of people, and I really love this about him, is he has the ability to like make an impact on you no matter who you are when he meets you. Like
Agreed.
you will remember who he is because he will hone in on something that y'all have in common. And he is genuinely interested in that conversation. Always. It's always genuine.
Yeah.
And like he will hone in on that, and like people that are interesting, like he doesn't think that he's above anybody else, and like it just like he will find something that he finds interesting about you, and like he will hone in on it, and
Yeah.
he will have a conversation about that.
He talked about that
And-
being about my laugh.
See, and
Yeah.
that's
He
the
says he
thing.
loves it.
Yeah, I
But
mean, and it's
that's not common. Like in people.
yeah,
Yeah.
people are fake like that. They're
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
you're this, and then the next time they see you, they won't remember you. But my
Right.
dad will walk in and like he'll
Yep.
instantly remember where he knows you from, where he met you, like how he knows you, and and ask you questions about the last conversation, and it's totally genuine.
I remember when I was working at the bank, I had I'll never forget it. I had a ride shipped, and I was really I've been into Mino cymbals for a long time, and so before I got any of that like deal or whatever, I bought this ride, but this guy had a website where like he just did audio clips, and now you could go to YouTube and it's like you can get this symbol and hear it now. But at that time, it was you had a picture, and then you had like an MP4, right? Like that was
old school.
Like he could have probably like he could have been playing anything you didn't know.
Yeah,
you just trusted him. So I got this ride, and it came in, and your dad asked me about it, and we were there talking about it for I don't know 10, 15 minutes. I told him I had this gig, and it went on. But like a month later or so, he came up and he was like, "Hey, dude, how was that ride? How'd that gig go?" Like, totally remembered. And that made me feel like, oh, you care.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, you give a shit about what I'm into, and you remembered what we were talking about. And that's something that not a lot of people have.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
Yeah, it's rare when you meet people like that.
It's and it's gotten him really far in business, you know, obviously, especially, but I mean, in cultivating friendships and relationships and things like that, obviously, you know, like that'll take you a long way. I try to take cues from him. My memory's not as good as his, but that was one of the things. That's one of the things I try to do is like if I try not to be fake with people, you know, I'm trying to anyway, but we don't. I digress, but so I don't. Sure. I mean, that's not what I want to spend the podcast talking about. You know what I mean? But it's so shifting from that. Like, how did you get from you know, because you were playing around town, and then I know you were going out to LA to do a bunch of stuff, and you moved to LA for a little while, didn't you? So like talk about like what prompted that move to LA. Was that just like I'm going to go for it 100% and dive feet first and try to get into the music scene kind of deal?
No. I'd been a fan of this band for a long time, and it'll go unnamed. It didn't work out like it was supposed to.
Details after?
Yeah, details after.
Privilege, motherfucker.
Never heard of that band.
Yeah, details after. They're great,
Yeah.
dude. It's this really psychedelic, like,
Nice.
You know, you won't remember, but details after. So there was this band that I grew up listening to and was a huge fan of, and then a buddy of mine was on drums for a long time, and he wanted some time apart, be with his family, whatever. And so I auditioned, and I flew out, and there were a handful of drummers that were auditioning for this gig, and I got the call that I had it, and how quickly could I get there, and it was good to go. And so I packed everything up in a U-Haul, like the next day, and just took off.
You just did one audition, or what? What'd you do? Like,
yeah, just one audition.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice,
yeah.
nice.
And they were like, "This is it. Like, we're good." And then when I ended up getting there, they changed their mind on personnel, and so chairs just got moved around, and I was no longer needed. But at the time, I was already there, and I had some friends raise money. You know, I'm like dirt poor, like trying to get out there. You know. And so friends were raising money. And
I mean, I don't mean to interrupt you, but was it instant like that? Like you pulled up to unload your shit and you're like, I'm here, guys. And they were like, well.
It went radio silent for about a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was like, hey, I'm here. What's up? Went on rehearsals. And I knew the show dates that were coming up.
Wait. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Like, radio? You mean like they didn't tell you for a week?
Yeah.
They were just dicking around. You were asking and like, what's up? What's the deal? Or
yeah, I don't know. Now I see it differently because I understand the industry a little bit better.
Huh.
So I don't know if it was just you talk to him,
Yeah,
and then
right.
at the end, no one was talking to me. You know what I mean?
fucking
Oh,
man
it's
up.
that conversation.
Yeah.
Man, Paul, it's your turn to fire the
Yeah.
snake.
Fucked up, being an adult.
But you know what? I totally get that because again, with musicians and with artists in general, we have this like thing, right?
Yeah, it's like a camaraderie or brotherhood. You don't want to put somebody down and be like, man, you're
Right.
not good enough to play with me.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
because you don't want it to come across that way,
And-
but
and-
it's not always that's not always the reasoning.
Right, and I don't think it had anything to do with that. It was just this meant more money in their pockets, and I totally get it, you know.
Yeah.
But I was already there, and so it didn't work out, and after a few months of trying to be out there and working different jobs, the scene is completely different. For like a Charlie gig, you know, or something like that here, you could pay your cell phone bill, you know, or something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Out there for the same gig, doing the same thing. I remember one of them, Billy Gibbons, came in and sat in on this like jam night thing.
Damn.
Nice.
And I got $50 and parking was 20.
Oh man.
And then I had gotten some food and drinks, so I left with like $5 in my pocket.
Oh, fuck.
And dude, like I was just,
You should have stayed for Billy Gibbons.
I was
Yeah.
Damn.
I gave him my $5. I was like, I'm sorry.
I took the valet.
I'm sorry.
No, exactly, right? You know,
Yeah.
so it was very different, and I was way more green to the scene than I am now, and so I had stars in my eyes. But yeah, that was me moving to LA.
Wow.
Did I mention I have depression?
Yeah.
I just realized.
Yeah.
No, I just realized like where that went. Like I'm like,
Oh yeah, don't worry about it, man. Join the club. We have meetings.
Yeah.
Oh, we are here.
Yeah.
Well,
But I mean,
I hear
that's
you.
why we
I
do
hear
this
you,
podcast.
man. I
Yeah.
kind of did that too, but I
Paul-
went to San Diego. Though I went too south.
Yeah.
I should have went more like Orange County, LA.
no,
But
you shouldn't have.
But San Diego, like, well, the scene wasn't as big as I thought it was. Like, it was more up north, you know, over there in LA where it was going at the time. This is like in 2007, 2008.
Okay.
So, like, not too far around where you were doing. So, I mean, but I didn't, you know, get as far as like you did. I just auditioned for some people, and I was willing to, you know, this one band in Orange County, like, they liked me, and I was willing to drive 2 hours, you know, a day for practice,
Yeah.
you know, twice, 2-3 times a week, and they turned me down because like, no, you live too far. It's like, I came out here for a reason. I'm willing to do that.
Yeah.
I was like, but they turned me down still, just because of the distance. They liked me, but it was just they just think it was just too far.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, I understand it's rough.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing, but I'm glad it happened because it really made me much more aware of, one, the ability that we have with communication and how important that is, but two, how great like the community here in town is, you know. Not only were a lot of the people that I was working for playing music here willing to give money so that I would go, and like they were gonna find another drummer or whatever, but there was that much camaraderie and support, you know. And so I think that's like way special.
Yeah, that's hard to find in any group.
That's-
I mean,
right.
that's of
Right.
people that you're leaving and you're saying, "Hey, I'm going to go, you know, try to do this thing."
Yeah.
And then people are like, "We got you 100%. Like,
Yeah.
go." Like that's hard to find just in friends in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Houston has a very unique music scene. Well, I speak like I know. I don't know. I mean,
know.
I've played in the Houston music scene for a few years.
You've
but
seen some shit.
I haven't played in any other music scene, so I have no scope of reference.
Got you.
But like the Houston music scene, like the clubs and bars in Houston, I assume it's like any city. It's oversaturated with a lot of musicians, with a lot of people that don't need the gig, like me.
Yeah.
Like I don't need the gig. Like I'm not paying my bills with the gig, but I want to play. Like
Yeah,
I
right.
want to get out there and play. But you can negotiate like with the bars, and like a lot of times, like I'll go play a gig. Like I'll play with, like when we play with Charlie, or I'll play with my friend Libby. You know, like you go and like, oh. Like if you play, oh man, I'm gonna screw this up. What's the name of that? It's a bar that's right over like off of Westheimer and Montrose. They have a lot of like Americana. Goodnight Charlie's.
Goodnight, Charlie's. Yeah.
Thank God.
You did it.
So like when you go play Goodnight Charlie's, like Goodnight Charlie's is awesome. Like you get a bar tab
Yep.
and a food tab.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like
And you get paid.
and you get paid. So, and their sound system's nice.
Yeah.
The venue's nice. It's not shitty people in the venue.
They have a sound person.
Yeah, and like you don't, and it's nice. So like you there's a lot of venues like that in Houston, and I don't know that it's like that in every city where
Yeah.
you can actually make a profit, and like the bar knows that, like, oh, you're the musician, you don't have to pay to park. Let me comp you
Yeah.
some dinner and a couple of
course.
beers, and here's your performance money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
that should be right.
I think every city, every music city has its niche, right? It has its group. Like here in town, I could name about 10 musicians that would do and have done every gig for anybody in town that you can think of, right?
Yeah.
But there's respect there, and that's what I see in other cities with a prominent music scene. Musicians know about it, and I think that's what I love about Houston. It's its own hidden little gem. On a Monday night when there's not a pandemic, you can go and listen to some jazz. I could tell you 3 places on a Tuesday night.
Sambuca? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Sambuca
In
has really
downtown,
good-
I've seen a lot of good jazz artists there. Rippon's-
Sambuca,
No,
actually-
yes, maybe, I don't know. Go on, sorry.
No, Sambuca actually on Thursday nights right now is having
Really?
live music, and
I didn't
like,
think anybody's really
distance.
having. Well, I know some people are doing it. Just rural.
It's still
small.
restaurant,
Yeah.
like, you know. But
Yeah.
Death metal night on Thursday.
Sambuca.
Sambuca. I think my buddy David plays over at Sambuca.
It's a pretty nice
regularly.
place,
Yeah.
man.
You know David Delagarza?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah,
I-
he's
I-
who I'm thinking about.
Yeah, so he plays over there. I mean,
Yeah.
and David, I mean, he plays with fucking everybody. But it's a very I feel like it's a very small community of musicians.
But no one's trying to like snake anyone's
Exactly.
gig.
Yeah, and
There
it's-
is respect.
Yeah, it's always like every time I've played a gig with somebody, or like I've gone to a gig that I didn't get called for, like, but I still wanted to go like see the artist or something like that.
Like I would have done better.
No, it's never like that. And like if you look on Facebook, it's like you go look on like if I go, oh, I'm gonna go friend this guy, like I just met this guy, and you look and it's like, oh, you have 40 mutual friends, and it's like the same group of like musicians that like all have played for the same artist, like at the. And it's just like, oh, this guy is doing this, so I'm gonna get this guy.
Or,
you know
or
what
if,
I mean?
if they're out of town,
Yeah.
then like when I go out of town for tour or whatever, there's one dude that like all of my gigs go to him, like all of them.
Nice.
And he's my buddy. I love him, and I trust him to do the job. I also trust him to not talk mess about me at that job,
Which is important.
Yeah, and be like, oh well, I could have done better, you know, which he could have. He's a much better drummer than I am, but he's like just shows up and he has his material, he knows everything, and man, he's great. But that's the thing: there's trust, there's camaraderie. In other towns that I've visited, you see it right away. Like you know,
which I was gonna ask you, like which towns do you see that kind of behavior?
I feel like L.A. Orange County.
I was gonna say L.A.
Well, I mean,
prob-
L.A.
Yeah.
L.A. I don't know. It's everyone's there trying to make it. You know.
Yeah, everybody's
Like-
coming out of from nowhere from around the world, pretty much,
Exactly. You know,
trying to make a name for themselves.
I think the biggest thing, like Austin has some of that. Nashville, I've seen some of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say Nashville would
To
surprise me.
to where when I was traveling with Black Flag and in London, talking to a musician, that came up, and it was like, yeah, there's a guy that could play the same thing, do the same job, but like if the chair pays $50 or $100, then he goes and he's like, oh, it's 100. Well, I would do it for 50. Well,
Damn.
Oh, he would undercut you on the gig.
well,
Fuck.
now you get the gig, but what you don't realize is you've cut the price on that chair.
The market goes down, right?
Fuck,
Yeah.
man.
So now
Devaluing your fucking selves, man. That's
Devalue
terrible,
the whole-
man.
the
whole
for everybody.
thing.
Yeah, that's fucking terrible.
So that's the mindset that I see in some of these places. Like I never saw that in LA. I just think in LA everyone's trying to make it, but it's if I can take this gig and like rush from one to the next, it's already paying $50, so I'm not going to turn it down.
Yeah.
You know? But if I can't do it, then here comes my buddy that I trust.
Yeah.
So that's the saturation really does drive the market. But but like just us trying, or musicians trying to like get the chair, the mentality isn't there sometimes to realize, hey, you're screwing this for everybody.
Yeah. It's that way with the cover band market, which is kind of, that's my groove, you know, like my dad plays drums in my cover band. So we were just I just talked with him about this the other day. We were talking about like bars opening back up and like we want to get gigs, and it's like, well, they don't have the patrons to be able to play anybody, to, you know, pay a band. No, we're good. Help yourself to anything, man.
I was gonna say you should have just left that on there and just drink it with
You
the
can't. It's
six. Oh no, you can't. That's right. It's not the plastic where it's open.
Yeah,
That's why I had
this is
ports.
not the early '90s, bro. It's
Why I
Shut
have,
up,
that's
leave
why
me
I have
alone.
ports on the
you
side.
can't
so you can
drink a
mess
Lone
yourself.
Star
Leave
with
me
the whole
be.
6-pack hanging off
Fuck
the
you,
side
Lone
of it.
Star. I haven't heard that in forever.
Lone Star porn star. You know?
That was a band.
Sorry,
That's
dude.
right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
To- This is normal for this podcast.
It's
Totally
very
normal.
ADD, baby.
Squirrel. Exactly. Well, so anyway, my dad and I were talking about this the other day. Like, we want to get gigs, but like the bar owners are like, we can't afford to pay a band.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, just tell them we'll do it for a little less.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hesitate to do that because then they're going to pay you a normally you would, you know, okay, well, we're going to have a full band out there that would make, you know, $800, $900. You're like, oh, we just want to play to keep our chops up and keep our name in the rotation. You know, we'll take $200 to come
Yeah.
out there because none of us are working musicians,
Right.
and so like we can do that and it won't, you know, we just want to play. But what that does is it drives down. They know that they can get a band for that much money,
Right.
and then the guys that really need the money aren't going to make shit when things
comes
open
back.
up.
Right.
They're going to be like, well, I know I
Yeah.
can get this band for that.
Well, that's what's fucked up about the situation.
Well,
you know?
I
Like,
think
it just-
I think right now it's a very different situation, right? Like if someone
we need
were
a union.
Yeah, good luck on that.
kidding.
Yeah.
yeah, if someone were to act on that right now, right? Not the union part, but if a bar were to lower its rate during this time, I would think they would not be in business very long because the art scene in Houston is so dry right now, and is in such a need. But I'm seeing more and more how the community is coming together, and like we'll tear some shit up if you're trying to screw with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I at least I will.
So I mean, it goes with the videography market too. Like these videographers say that you should never devalue yourself because you're ruining the business. So I think the only way to fix that, and I guess whenever there's like a some sort of business that has so much saturation, you're going to run into that. So in your sake, you just literally got to go and fucking sabotage these people that are willing to do it for cheap, just so you could tell them like,
Yeah.
you get what you pay for.
Yeah,
That's true. Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
it's fucked up.
And it sucks. It's like, you know, people just starting out, you know, like videography, you know, they do it for like $100-$200, but really it's like a $3,000 gig.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's fucking damn. That's low.
Well,
man.
and the same thing
That
happens.
is low.
Same thing happens with live sound. You
Yeah.
know, you know, I was doing before the pandemic, and you know, I've done live sound for a long time, and I finally decided like I wasn't gonna cut rates on gigs anymore. I just was. I actually raised my rates and said, this is my minimum. I'm not leaving the house for less than this amount of money. Like, you're getting good quality gear. And there was other sound companies in town, other sound guys that were doing gigs for $100-$150. And I was like, no, like, I'm not going to negotiate with you. Like, call him. Oh, well, he stays busy all the time. Okay. Like, he's going to work 3 nights in a row and make the same that I'm making doing one gig, and my back's not going to hurt.
Or a corporate event or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, I mean, that's all into the plight of the working class musician. I want to touch on some stuff before we end up ending this podcast. So, I mean, we're not getting close.
Yeah,
yet,
yeah. We're all running a little over.
We
Yeah,
got to
fuck
know
A celebrity in
how
our
did
presence.
you end up. I got to know how you ended up on the roster for Black Flag.
Yeah.
Like, how did
Yeah.
that happen? Did Greg Ginn just like see your Instagram and was like, just call that guy, like get him out here?
No, Greg's not on Instagram. Yeah. So I did get a call from Greg, but prior to that, I had played with Mike, the lead singer,
Okay.
Mike Vallely, and I played with him for his own project, and we played around town and Dallas, and it was like a Texas tour, right? So he called it Mike and the Texas New Arms, and it was a whole bunch of Houston-based musicians. Kevin, who plays guitar from the Suffers.
Oh, okay.
Tommy Luna, who was on bass. He was my point of contact. I've played many gigs with Tommy, and he was just like, "Hey, dude, like, if you want in on this, like, here it is." And I was like, "Heck yeah!" So my buddy JP, he was on guitar as well, and then Mike was singing, and I think I was out on the road with Jackie Velasquez at the time. So I'm like doing this Christian pop stuff and like just loving it. Like I love the diversity in that. And then I couldn't make rehearsal and 1 or 2 shows. But Tommy told Mike, like, he's good. He'll show up. He'll make it. And JP was on drums at the time. So I showed up to Dallas and played a show. Never, I think maybe we rehearsed once, or prior to that hadn't rehearsed. And it worked out well. And then,
Those are such high pressure
Damn.
gigs.
but it was so much fun. At this point, I don't take gigs with pressure. Like,
Yeah, I get
That's
yeah.
good though, man.
So
I
the
mean,
first gig that I had with Charlie, I'm just going to interject real
Yeah.
quick. The first gig that I had with Charlie, it never had a rehearsal. Charlie came over here and we listened to all of his songs.
Yep.
And we charted. He didn't have charts for any of his songs.
Yeah.
And I'm not Willie or John. Like, I can't listen. I really can't listen to a song and like chart it out. I don't have that good of an ear, especially like on subtle changes and things like that. So Charlie came over and we just drank a bunch of beer and like we charted out like every song that he had. He grabbed a guitar and was like, "All right, this is the change here. You know, make sure you follow this, blah blah." Because I hadn't heard all of his material because there's stuff that wasn't recorded.
Right.
And he was like, "All right, cool." And then the gig was like 3 or 4 days after that, and
Yeah.
it was like a long 3-hour, like 3-set gig out in the country, and it was fun. And you know, he was like, "Don't worry about anything." He's like,
that's the mentality, though. That's
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. The more I work with different people, the best gigs are with that kind of person. That's like, don't worry about it, dude. Like, just do what you do, and the music will tell you what it needs.
Right.
"Yeah,
And I never understood that up until a little while ago. And I'm like, oh, it really does tell you where it needs to go and what it wants to do. And now you just hear it and you're like, okay, your choruses are 8 bars, right? Like for me, it's just measures. So I'm like, okay, 8 measures are your choruses, your verses are either going to be half or double. And then I'll listen to 2 songs, 3 songs, and I know how that singer-songwriter writes their parts. And it's like, okay, so you double here or you cut short here, and this is your formula because it's their vernacular. It's how they speak
Right.
through music.
yeah."
And then it's like, oh, this is easier than thinking about, I have 52 songs to learn.
That sounds daunting.
That's pressure
when
right
you're in a when you're in a cover band, it's like that. You're like, man, I have 40 songs I have to
Yeah.
learn for this
Wow.
gig. But like he's absolutely right. Like when I played for Charlie and like I played for Libby and I played for Brant and you know, a lot of, you know, country Americana artists and kind of
Yeah.
in that scene. And it was really daunting when they were like, yeah, we're going to play a 2 or 3 hour gig. and like, here's my songs, and then we're gonna play a bunch of these covers. The first gig that I learned every cover of Brant's, because he was the first guy that I ever played with that did that. I think I learned every cover that he had on the list, like, by the record. And it's all old country stuff, so it's like 1-4-5, super easy bass stuff, nothing crazy. And then like I made him do a rehearsal because I was like, I really don't feel comfortable going into this with no rehearsal. We did a rehearsal without a drummer, and it was me and Brant, and Sam Austin was playing guitar. And so like we just went through stuff, and he's like, oh yeah, we play this one like this. We play this one like this. I was like, that's not how the record is.
That's not how the record is. Yeah.
He's like, and they're like, but it's okay. Like, and then you have to lose that mentality of like, that song's not, it's okay. This is the way we're going to play it. We're going to play it like this. Oh, so I can just, as long as like, as a bass player, and it's kind of the same with the drummer, as long as you're on top of the changes.
Yep.
And as long as a bass player, as long as you come in on the one.
Yeah.
Like, you're good. You can play whatever you want. Like, you don't have to follow the as long as you're not playing a funk slap bass
Hold
line.
the root.
Yeah.
Follow the bass drum.
If you don't know where you're at, like he said, just follow the root. Like, just hold where's the kicks at? Okay, follow the kicks.
Yeah.
There's the change. You know what I mean? But anyway, we digressed again.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Because of you!
I know. That was all right. That one was on me. So, back to...
Say like the first quarter, 3/4 of this podcast.
Yeah. You've been digressing for a very long time.
Back to Black Flag.
Yeah.
So how'd that happen?
I played the gig with Mike, and then later on that year, that same band, we ended up going to Norway. Ooh. And it was beautiful. It was the weirdest thing. Like, the sun would set at like 4 in the afternoon, and then it was like night time. Like, the rest of the time, it would come up at like 8, and there was like
short days, man.
Super short. We were in the winter solstice.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing. I was trying.
It's Norway, yeah.
It never really
sounds
gets
about
dark,
right.
though.
Right? No, it was dark.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, no. The other one is the summer solstice.
Oh, okay. Where it
That's
never
the
really
one where
gets
it never gets dark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like,
really? Over there in Norway?
Yeah. So
anything that far north.
Okay. Damn.
So I saw
like Alaska.
We went. We went and we played there, and it was like the winter solstice. And like a few months later, I saw one of my favorite drummers, Josh Freese. He plays with Sting, among a 1,000 other bands. But he went and he played the same city, and they were playing. And like on the post, it was like, "Can't believe it's 10 p.m." and the sun was like 5 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Whoa.
Yeah. And it was crazy. It was crazy. But so we did that, and I don't know. A few months later, Mike, I got a text from Mike, or maybe a call, and he was like, "Hey, dude, nothing set in stone, but would you be open to the idea of maybe jamming with Black Flag?" And I was like, "Yeah."
I don't know. I have to think about it.
Yeah. It's like, what do I have today? I was like, yeah, dude,
Man,
totally.
I've got a 12 o'clock yoga session. I mean, I don't know if I can make it.
Soul Cycle. So I told him I was down, and he he introduced me to Greg. Greg called me and was like, "Hey, dude, all right, let's jam and let's see what's up." And I'll be honest with you, I had heard the music, but I had no idea the history. Like, I knew they were a prominent band. I knew
a lot of history in that band.
So much history that I came to find out. But I didn't. Again, I wasn't nervous because I didn't know all of the details. I was just like, yeah, cool, we'll jam. And at the time, I was playing with 6 other bands. So if I wasn't in town working, I was in Nashville. And if I wasn't in Nashville, I was in LA. Like, I was working no matter what. So I was like, it's cool. And Greg came out, and he brought a bass. And I was like, I thought you were the guitarist. And he just wanted...
So confused right now.
I really was. And he came out, and it was so laid back. Like, he was like, "Jam something, I'll follow." And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So we just jammed for maybe about an hour. And he was like, all right, cool. A man of very few words, but his words like
Very poignant.
hold weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he was like, we'll do it again. And that was it. He like took off, and a week later we jammed again. And then after that, he was like, do you know any bassists? Like, he was trying to put the band together.
And you didn't call me.
I know. I was like, "Where's Rob at?" And
No. but like, I didn't
too busy doing
I
this fucking
didn't
podcast.
know what was going on. I was like, you showed up on bass. What do you mean? Like, I was so confused.
You
He
showed
was
up
fucking
on
with
base.
you, man. Like,
I was like, you were on
You
bass.
showed up on base. Just you saying that just seems so hilarious. I can't imagine how you feel. Like he's like fucking with you or something. You know, like
He's like, do you know any bassists? And I'm like,
whoa, what?
you were on bass.
weren't you?
I'm about to kick myself out of this, man.
Bringing this man.
No, I honestly was so lost. I was just like, what? And so,
Oh man.
I don't know. Anyway, like, then he like shows up and he's on guitar, and he doesn't use any pedals. Like, he has a Sans amp, and then he like cranks that, and that's the distortion you hear.
Wow.
Like, there's nothing else. There's
Damn, that
and
raw.
the speaker. And it was just hearing that like thing for the first time. I'd been playing with bands for the past like 15 years of my life. I had never heard a guitarist just show up and be like,
Yep. Throw some compression
and
on
there
it.
it is.
No compression.
Fucking
There's no such
mid,
thing
no
as compression.
mids.
It was just there, and I was like,
Jesus.
I got excited. I was like, I got to play.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Play
dude,
hard.
yeah.
You gotta play hard to be heard
got-
over the guitar.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have to. I
Damn.
have, and it wasn't even like
Ultra.
just loudness. It was just the presence of it, like the power, like
Yeah.
like hey, I'm here, and I was like, oh, this is fun,
Yeah,
you know.
that's badass.
And so after that, I was out in California, and I got a call, and it was Greg, and he was like, hey man, this is the per show thing, and this is per rehearsal. We start rehearsals here. This is and just lets me know what the schedule is. And I was like, wait, am I in the band?
You didn't. Yeah, you didn't
Damn.
say that, Greg.
Yeah.
So
And
your first gig
just
was a
assume-
festival gig. Was
yeah, Dana
Damn.
Point,
Yeah.
Sabroso, Taco Fest.
Yeah,
What?
Yeah.
What was that?
Sabroso Taco Fest.
Taco Fest, you say?
it was. That's a big festival.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Hey,
I didn't making shit up for a
hey,
second.
take
Like
it
what?
easy. Yeah.
Taco
Before you
Fest.
get to that, what was
Well,
the follow up when you
well-
said, "Am I in the band?"
Oh, he was like, he's super
typical Rob.
No,
derailed
but
it
like
again.
Sorry.
super chill,
Yeah.
super chill, right? Like, I'm like, oh wait, so I'm in the band. He's like, well, yes. That was
yes.
Like, duh.
that was it. That was it.
Well, yes.
Nice.
And but he was like, well, yes, if you want to. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm down.
Awesome.
I just remembered I don't have anything to do, so at your service, Greg. And dude, like from that point on, and throughout the tour, like that's what it was. It was just, it was funny, few words, like good interaction. And he always, we had a set list, but he always wanted to keep it fresh. So it was like, don't get comfortable. Like, play it like it's the first time every time. You know?
Nice.
Nice.
That's the
And-
way to do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes he would take solos where he normally wouldn't take solos because he'd normally take solos here. Like, he would just change it up. And at one point, so bringing it back to how did he know about me? I didn't think he knew about me outside of Mike suggesting that I audition.
Right.
But he brought it up during a practice one day. He was like, hey man, I heard you played for this band. And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, how about you do a solo in this song in that style? And now I'm talking like think of like salsa, bachata, like, you know, like,
Yeah.
like you're eating at Chewy's on a Monday night, and Greg's like, okay, but tonight we're at Eddie V's. Bring that noise.
What the fuck kind of fucking?
I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, dude, just do it. And I was like, all right. So like, I'm, you know, metaphorically, I'm at Eddie V's, bringing in this chewy salsa. Like, you know, here's my, you know, little creamy jalapeno sauce on this.
Oh, you're making me hungry. Stop
Yeah,
that.
I know, right?
Pineapple salsa. Give me a fucking fucking
Yeah.
So, I mean, and now, like, I tagged you on Facebook, like, he was a meme on Facebook. He was, like, do you know what the hardtimes.net is?
Yeah.
It's like
shit's
the
hilarious,
Onion,
but for music. Yeah.
Oh, I
So
thought you were going to say
great.
the hurricane.
Yeah. Shit's hilarious.
So there was, for anybody that doesn't really know, like, the history of Black Flag, Greg Ginn is, like, the original. He founded that band. He's a guitar player. He's the only...
He writes all the music.
Yeah, he's been the only, like,
Original
consistent
member?
member of that band.
Yeah.
So, like, the other long-term members of that band, like, what's his name? Cazares, the guitar player, Dino, I forget what his name is. I think it's Dino Cazares was one of the guitar players. Henry Rollins was the lead singer of Black Flag for a long time. Anyway, like, they have another band where they called Flag, and you know, they kind of do like the same of Black Flag's material, you know, and there was a hardtimes.net article that popped up on Facebook one day that I saw that said Flag super stoked to be able to open for Black Flag finally. You know what I mean? And the picture that they used was a festival pic, and it was Gil on drums. And I tagged him in it, and I was like, "This is you, bro."
And there were so many people that were like, "Oh, dude, don't get upset." I'm like, "Bro, that is cool."
yeah. No
I'm on
shit.
their Wikipedia.
Yeah. I just saw it right now. You're on there.
I was like, "You almost have a Wikipedia page."
Yeah.
Like,
You're not highlighted though, but you're there.
No,
Your
no,
name's
'cause
there.
I don't have a page.
You don't have a yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
you're like,
some-
don't
some
worry,
friend-
you get there.
Well,
Just-
some- yeah,
you made
thanks.
it. You're on a page.
Yeah.
The next step
I
is
feel
to
like
have
right
a link.
now you're about to say you're doing great, sweetie.
Yeah, honey, baby, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Keep pushing.
before the Black Flag thing started, it reminded me when you were talking about like all the other things that you were doing. You know, Houston, Sweetheart Darlings, the Sufferers. You were playing drums for them for a while, weren't you?
So I subbed. I subbed.
He was out
for-
having a baby,
Yeah.
right, or something.
Well,
like that.
not him. His wife.
Well, obviously,
Yeah.
gotcha.
In this day and age, yeah, Arnie, Junior.
I
What the fuck?
had to clarify.
You never know.
We
That's
gotta-
true.
we
You
gotta-
never
we
know
gotta
this
keep
day and
it-
age,
Yeah,
so.
I know how it is.
No, but yeah. So my buddy Nick is the drummer there. Also plays keys and sings. And yeah, I helped out for a little bit of their run. It was so much fun, man. Another
They're a great band.
super
God, they're
great,
so
and
good.
so just like it's just feel good music.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
And again, going like from Jackie Velasquez to playing with Mike V to playing with Black Flag to playing with the Suffers, it was just I get to not get bored. You know, you're
Yeah,
playing
that-
like
Have a
some
variety, pretty much. Like I mean, just
Oh yeah,
That's
I mean,
cool.
It sounds like it. Yeah, I mean that's
yeah.
so.
Charlie here in town, and another one you need to play bass for one day is Grand Old Grizzly.
Give him my number.
Dude, like Mark also plays bass for them. He's the bassist for Charlie. But whenever he's out, like connect you with them. So
down.
much fun. Now that one's tough. Like
Is it?
Talking-
Maybe don't give him my number.
talking about no, even for
Wait,
me.
there's a challenge now.
You know
Fuck
this
that.
guy sneaks in a case of beer every gig he goes to. So
No, that's not true.
no.
What?
I don't sneak in a case of beer. I'm not that low class.
Like just proud, just fucking announce it.
I get hammered before I show up, and I just maintain.
You said
maintain.
you said no, that's not true, and then you looked at me. And
I wanted you to make sure that you knew, like, that's not true.
Okay.
Like, in true business terms, that's not true.
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I just let him know straight up.
They want to ruin careers, don't we? Or what?
Yeah.
Spread
Well,
the
it's not
word.
really a career, but I mean,
Spread the word.
it's a good
Reputation's on
hobby.
the line. Okay,
Yeah.
it's a good hobby.
I do
It's
have a
a
reputation.
strong hobby of mine, but yeah.
I have a C+ reputation to maintain.
C
Hey.
plus. Get the
Hey,
fuck outta
I'm
here.
that student, man. Like, what's the lowest grade that I need to pass this class? I know what an
do
A
it.
can get me. Get out of here. I want a challenge. How low can this go?
Nice.
Shit, I'll turn an F minus into an A plus.
No shit.
Yo,
Sharpie.
yo, does a C plus or C minus still get me there?
Of course.
Do I get another gig with a
course.
C-? Because
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to show up
Yeah.
with.
If you go in with the
bare
D
minimum.
minus, you're
Ooh.
walking, man.
No,
You're
wait,
walking.
Hold on.
Damn, man.
I didn't want to use that reference. That just sounded weird. I intentionally kept away from using D. I'm like,
Because of dick or
I don't know. It just
You got the D. Think about it.
yeah.
Damn, I just got the D. God damn it.
you just took the D.
Yeah, no, you just took the D.
Oh, so and there's a lot of gigs like the. You've obviously heard like what Gil talking about like there are a lot of low pressure gigs.
You caught that, huh? Yeah. That's a double gig.
You said gig 2 times. And I just looked at He's like, yeah.
They laugh every time I say it, dude. I'm telling you, it's like
Fucking old man. We're not
like-
that far behind you in age either, but it just seems hilarious.
it's
Don't
one of those
remind
things-
me
it's one
that
of
we're
those
getting
things
there.
when you're in sex ed class and your teacher says vagina, like you're everybody's giggling.
Well, that was me with him saying he took the D plus. I'm like, stop!
I know, man.
I can't.
This is
That's
a
gentleman no class.
no class.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't pretend. We don't put on. What's the expression?
This is not for show here.
Yeah, we're
This is
not.
the
Man,
real
this is
deal,
genuine.
baby.
Real
wanna
deal. Holyfield.
I want to share this with my church people.
Yeah, good fucking luck.
Well,
Well,
God damn it.
there's that.
I had one more main question that was on my list of things to ask you about kind of your career and kind of where you went, because like I said, we've been friends for a while and I've been following your career and stuff like that. So a lot of the posts that you do on social media or you have done in the past reference a mentor that you have.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, like who that is and like what y'all work on and things like that.
Yeah.
Like how did that relationship foster?
Dude, I'm glad you brought that up. James Metcalf.
Okay,
I love him. He is
you call him your Shifu.
my Sifu.
Sifu,
Yeah. Okay, so when I first met him, we played for this cover band, and we were doing this private event out in the country. For whatever reason, I didn't get to meet him prior to. I was probably running late because I'm always running late. And so I set up, and then we start playing this thing, and it was right after I had gone to the drum off the first time. So I made it to the finals, one of the top 4, like, drummers in the nation. I thought I was like, yeah, I got this. And we started the song, and I'm playing this really intricate thing for drummers, right? Like, I'm playing this part on the shell of the floor tom. I'm playing cross stick on the snare. My hi-hat's doing one thing. My bass drum's over here doing something else. And I'm like, yeah, I'm nailing the part. And he's on percussion. And he's 6'2", 6'3". And so at one point, I just look over to my left, and he's looking down on me, kind of like how you're sitting right now, like arms crossed, looking down, right? So I'm sitting down, he's looking down at me, and I just glance at him like, what are you doing? And he's like, what am I going to play? And just mouths that, we're in the middle of the tune. Like, this is while we're playing. And I'm like, what do I do? And he goes, 16ths on the hi-hat. And so I start doing that. Keep everything else the same, like the bass drum. So it was just, I go from 4 limbs like playing different things to on the hi-hat. I'm like, this is not going to work out. And then all of a sudden he starts playing his part, and the front man, the boss, turns around and he gives me the biggest grin and a thumbs up. And so when we got our first break, I was like, dude, who are you and how do I study with you? Like, that was the craziest thing ever. Wow. I thought I was playing some really cool stuff over here, like, you know, all this stuff. And I went, and they love that so much more.
Minimalize you.
Less is more sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Minimalize.
But I didn't realize it then, right? And so then
Oh, yeah.
he was like, well,
That's number 5 for me, by the way. If you see that.
He's not
There's-
reading that tonight, obviously.
But yeah.
So, okay, so
Yeah,
podcast.
that's just that's just my
so-
my
Podcast
rules.
rules.
This
Yeah.
this is
Number
Paul's
5
only. Not
that's
this
just
doesn't
for me.
apply to
Yeah,
everybody.
this is just for me.
So, since it's a podcast, I will let everyone know that there is a picture holder in the middle of this table, and it says podcast etiquette.
This is Paul's. It should say Paul's podcast.
Yeah.
And number 1 is do not interrupt. Number 2, breathe. Can I read these out loud?
Yeah,
'Cause
go ahead.
I don't give a shit.
Number 3, only speak to add value. Number 4, nobody cares what you think. Ain't that the truth? Number 5, less is more, be brief. I could use more of that. And number 6, nobody cares what you think. Privado.
Yeah, privado. Yeah, private motherfucker. Shut the
It
fuck
says
up.
that in parentheses.
Yeah.
It says privado.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it, dude.
Thanks,
I
man.
love it.
That's geared just designed for me, man.
Oh, that's only for you.
Yeah,
that's
I
his.
had because I'm a fucking mess, man. I'm fucking ADHD, and I'm just all over the place, man.
Dude, that's great.
You gotta get Rob one.
Yeah,
We're just gonna
one
put it.
roll.
No, we don't.
Just put it right. Just put it right here.
One roll. Shut the fuck up.
Just right there. Wow.
If Jake writes him, it'll be number 1, you don't know everything. Number 2, quit saying shit like you know everything.
Yeah, it's just variations of the same fucking
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Oh, man.
Everything is not Rob.
Yeah,
Number 3.
yeah.
Oh,
That's
man.
fucking great.
Number 4, quit talking from a middle class white perspective all
Jesus,
the time.
And number 5, goddamn privilege.
man.
Every episode, he's got to drop it.
I gotta drop a David Lynch thing too, real quick.
Jesus.
I just David Lynch. That's it.
That's it.
Go on.
There you
Go on. Go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Well, that's how I met James, and he took me in very kindly, and I've been very fortunate. I consider your dad to be like a mentor to me in many ways. James a mentor to me, in other ways. Like, I just feel like people have been placed in my life at very pivotal moments and have helped me just develop a thought that is very much my own, but guided by good people, you know? And so, yeah, James is my Sifu, and I love him, and he was the audio engineer professor at San Jac for a long time.
Oh, nice.
But just incredible musician. Played for Aretha Franklin, like a whole bunch of people.
Wow.
And just anything from percussion to a shaker to drum set, he just kills. He was one of the few guys that on a couple of songs for projects I was working on, I would go to his house and record it there. And he was like, "We need shaker." I was like, "Cool." So I started playing shaker. And I always wait for the metronome in my ear to stop. Or
Thank you for saying metronome, not click track. I hate when people say that. So I'm sorry.
No,
Go
it's
on.
all good. Yeah.
I love metronome, fucking losers. Get a click track. Shut the fuck up. Go on.
So when the click track in my ear
Oh, God
stops,
damn it. Get out of here. I'm going to go. I'm gone.
but I'm playing shaker, and this is not stopping. And I'm playing, and it's not stopping. So finally I go through the whole song, and I was like, yo, couldn't you have, like, just cut 4 bars and, like, just placed it over? He's like, but your feeling's going to change when you get to the chorus.
Ah, interesting.
You're going
Yeah.
to play this differently when you hear back what you, like, just absolutely hearing music for the conversation that it is,
Nice.
and knowing you're going to react differently, even though you're recording.
I don't know where he got that from, but I don't mean to interrupt you, but that is exactly like how, like when I do recordings and stuff like that, I specifically won't do that, like loop stuff like that, because the interaction while you're playing and things like that. Like we listened to my little brother's song before we started recording the podcast, and I recorded a bass track for him, and it's a very simple, easy transition 4-note bass track. It's nothing super fancy, but the feel changes as it goes through the song. And like he asked me, why don't you just do the 4 notes and then like just loop it? And I was like, because it's going to change as different parts. Like there's certain things you can do on a physical instrument you can't do on a MIDI track.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
and the feel will change. And I told him, I was like, just when I get done, you're going to listen to it. And it like on that same note, after we finished this and I recorded that bass track and put it in there, he's like, there's a couple parts where he has the 808 kick going, you know what I mean? And then when the 808 drops out, that's when the kick drum and bass guitar come in like a traditional like rock and roll song. And like there's this little like fill that I do where it comes in on the bass, and he's like, that part of the song is so hype when I'm listening to it. And I was like, oh man, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah.
You know, like that. And it's super simple, but like like it just made,
But it wouldn't have happened
exactly.
if you
it wouldn't have
spliced
happened.
it. Yeah.
No, you saying that, because like I'm working on something on my own. I have been the past year, like an album I'm working on myself, and I tend to like, I guess maybe because I'm lazy. Yeah, no, I'm just to be honest. I get lazy. I'll just take certain parts that repeats, and I'll just cut and paste. But you saying that, like, because all I have is demos, and I'm going to record it here with Rob. And when I do that, though, like, that's a good point, though. Like,
You're
when
gonna
I'm
play
gonna
it differently.
Yeah, no, I
differently.
didn't. I never thought about that. But you saying that, like, just it just grounds like the song even more with the feelings, just how I want to connect with. Or when people listen to it, I want them to feel that.
It's probably going to flow better too.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, because
as long as Eric Sutherland's not on drums.
that's fucked up.
Well, it's like we were talking about like with like 90s music, right?
Yeah.
You got a band, a group of musicians in a room, guided by a producer, making music, and there's something about it, man. There's something special. There's something unique about, you weren't layering samples of all this and that. You were capturing what was happening.
Yeah.
And that was the magic, you know? Like that's what makes those records back then so great. And now there's time efficiency, and I get that, but when we're talking creativity and just a feel, you can't fake that.
Yeah. It's essentially capturing, like the way I look at music, and I remember reading somewhere, someone was talking about when you write, it's essentially a snapshot in time of how you feel when you're writing that.
Yeah.
And you want to capture and preserve that, like when whatever it is, how you're feeling that, and just going through it, like you said, and I love I was also going to ask you too, because you said that I forgot his name, the guy you look up to, and like
James.
you said, like yes, a mentor, yeah. Like when you were playing before you met him, it seemed like, because I can relate. I'm just going to say it, just maybe at one point where your playing style, you were maybe trying a little too hard. You're like you're saying, you're playing all intricate, you're doing this, and he's like, hey. Like you said on the what's called like on the
hi-hat.
On a hi-hat,
Yeah.
Just cut it down, drive it down, just because my approach, like it took me a very long time. Me and him, like, been guitar brothers like forever. We've been writing music forever. Like when like the last project we were in, we were like trying like so hard, like we were really progressive, and I felt like after a while, a friend of ours pointed out a vocalist, like he told us, like, why don't you just take it down a peg or two, and just try to be minimal. Like it really, like I said, my rule: less is more. Be brief.
That sounds like some shit that I said before y'all kicked me.
Yeah. Well, it took a long time to drive in.
We had he started a family.
It was. Hey man, it was mutual.
He wanted to.
It was mutual.
It was a mutual split. We were still friends.
I'm stopped.
Like,
I can't smoke cigarettes anymore. Like, well, we smoke cigarettes. Get the fuck out.
No, but my point is, it's just I'm trying to take it for like a minimalistic approach. I think it just the minimalism I love in writing music. It just seems like it has more of an impact. Like, do you feel yourself as a song? Like, I don't know. Like when you collaborate with these guys, when you do write or anything. Do you feel like you take that approach now, or
I do now? Yeah, I think of it like nothing's really disconnected, right? Mm-hmm. So like if you go again a fancy restaurant, they give you the steak, and it's like maybe on some like arugula, but it's like super simple, like little thing, right? Mm-hmm. And then you go to like I don't know McDonald's, and you get the steak burger, and it's got all this stuff piled on it.
Yeah.
It's. I know this is far-fetched. Just it's like the less is more approach.
Yeah,
is also the fancy approach.
Yeah,
the less is more.
They're not
approach.
Trying too hard.
No, you don't have to try because you know what you're presenting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't,
and that's more like you feel more humble too.
There's more quality to it.
Yeah,
and you can be humble about it, but you also being humble and knowing your worth are very different.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Like you can know that you're this quality of a musician and be humble.
Yeah.
Or you can let everybody know what quality of musician you think you are.
Yeah.
And not be humble.
Yeah.
Right.
Like very different. You know? And I don't think I ever approached it as hey, look at me. But I definitely did approach it like, look what I've been practicing that I was proud of. It didn't come from from an ego place.
Yeah.
It came from a place of pride that I tried this and I've accomplished it.
Right.
But now it's knowing that I practiced all of those things so that I can have a tool belt, not so that I can look what I can do all the time.
Yeah.
I
mean, that gets... Yeah, and I completely understand that, too, because at one point I was like that, too, and but I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, going back to earlier, I was talking about that, and it was just, I don't know, it's just not a good look, and it just seems, when you take that approach, too, of just a minimalism, it just relieves a lot of pressure, too. It's just like, I'm not trying too hard, I don't need to show off, and I don't need this, I'm just going to tell you, what I know and what I feel.
Yeah.
And it's just such a different, feeling when you write and have that mindset. It just, I don't know. I've come with better, what's it called? Like my output as far as what I've been writing when I've been taking that approach the past few years is far better than anything I've ever done in the past. Just, you can tell the contrast is there. And it speaks way louder than trying so hard, there's no need.
It's also good to have another set of ears, like you said, a producer hearing something and the guy was just telling you, hey, just do the shit, like a producer would be like, well, play that riff again. Like, what the hell was that? And then bro, I was just tuning my guitar.
Yeah,
play that shit. We're gonna track that.
Riff again.
We're gonna track that.
No,
shit like that.
Play it in tune is what he meant. No, but if you think of for me, it's going back to some of the intro drum parts, right? If you hear you know what's coming. And all he did is kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare. That is it, Dun-dun-dun.
Yeah.
Dun-dun-dun.
Yeah.
Dun-dun-dun.
Fucking in the air tonight. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about
That's
that
so
earlier.
simple.
Yeah.
That is so fucking badass, but it's not that hard to play. But
dude,
there's a reason why that is such a memorable fucking,
from a production standpoint, what they call that is because I've been doing, watching a lot of production stuff and doing stuff like that. And producing this stuff for my brother, and what they call that is giving everything its own space.
Yeah.
Everything has to have its own space,
Be
or
able to
else
breathe.
it sounds cluttered.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff if you listen to that's out there that's over what they call overproduced, where everything is just triple and quadruple layered guitars and vocals and everything's just and you can't really tell what's going on.
It seems soulless too, man. Like
and that's a good approach.
But the tone is there.
I mean,
But
Taylor
tune.
Peak has that orange guitar amp.
son of a bitch.
I love you, Taylor. Anyway,
No, you don't.
but that's one of those things. Like
Yeah.
from a production standpoint, they call it making sure everything has its own space, so that everything. When you listen to like a really great song that's produced really well, if you really listen to it, everything sits together very well like a family, but everything also stands out on its own in really good quality.
Yeah.
A good example of that is any Journey song. Listen to like a top 10 Journey song.
Yeah.
Or Hanson.
I wasn't going to go there, even though you did mention it earlier. I was trying not to bring it
it's
up.
not wrong, though.
Any Hanson song.
I only know
Forget
Bop.
Journey.
I only know Bop.
Dude,
but
go
that's-
back and listen to that whole album, man.
I don't know if I want to, man. It sounds like a dare. But all right.
I will. You have an iPhone.
Yeah,
I will gift you that album, my friend.
Yeah, Spotify.
He's about to airdrop you
Still
some songs.
gift this for me.
I'll gift it to you.
I'll be honest.
That way you don't have to say you bought it.
Yeah.
Like somebody
That's true.
that doesn't want to
I'd be
admit that they
ashamed.
bought Nickelback.
No. I don't care how many beers I've had. I have never liked Nickelback ever.
There's a
Never
couple of songs
bought a
I like.
Nickelback song.
Photographs and whatnot.
Get the fuck out of here. Okay,
Shut up!
this conversation has digressed.
Wide open.
All right. And on that note,
That's Creed, I think, right?
I think we can end it on that note. So
Yeah.
Look at this photograph.
yeah, look at this photograph.
An arm's wide open,
And on
motherfucker.
Jesus Christ.
My own
Okay.
prison.
Whatever.
My own
And on that note, I've been Rob.
Paul. Hey, no. We always do this. Thank you.
Thank you.
I said,
Yeah.
Oh
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
great,
I always
man.
forget to say
Yes,
thank you.
I had to do that
Gil,
last
thank
time.
you for driving all the way
Yes.
out here,
Heck
sharing
yeah,
some
man.
beers
This is
with us.
cool, man.
And I
Thank
always
you.
forget to drop the Eureka Heights thing.
Yeah.
941 West 18th Street, Eureka Heights Brewing Company. They're closed to the public right now, but the drive-through is open. You can drive through and get beers.
Can Space Train.
I talked to Evan the other day, so I don't know if
Muy
that's going to happen.
caliente.
No, they have
The
some
Muy
cans.
Cal-
They
I do
have
have
some
some Muy
cans, Space
Caliente
Train.
in the fridge if
Only
you would
for
like
drive-thru.
some.
But know this, folks. Beluga Light is in the works.
No, it is
just because
not.
I'm
But,
saying it. Hey, it is.
So we need to make sure that we sponsor. We go out there and we support Eureka Heights. So we get the events back because
and a free beer, you know?
Yeah, we need the free beer.
Evan, honey baby, Evan.
So anyway,
right.
Eureka, they just did a fresh refresh of the building. So they painted the building and everything.
They refreshed it like a page, or I mean,
They painted the whole outside of the building and everything.
Yeah, they had a circle arrow. Yeah.
the circle arrow, goddamn it!
That goddamn beach ball.
Fucking Mac. Force quit and control.
They just released a new beer that my dad actually
man.
texted me about and was like, "You need to go over to Eureka Heights
Hurry
and
up!
pick
I
some
gotta
of this
piss
up."
so bad, man. Please, let's sign
on.
off.
I've got to drop this
God
new
damn
beer.
it!
They just released this, the Von
They
Wolfhausen.
had a cape of
Oh,
that
I saw
shit.
that.
What
Von
is that?
Wolfhausen.
Von Wolfhausen.
Fucking beer fest.
From Beer Fest.
nice.
Eureka
Yeah.
Heights. Yeah. It's
Nice. The old lady slapping the wiener.
Yeah.
I wanted to share this with church people.
Oh, I'm sorry. Shit.
She's just warming up a sausage.
She is warming up a sausage. That's all she was doing too. It was a little
There's
cold.
nothing unnatural
I'm
about
sorry.
that.
Von Wolfhausen.
That was my
She
fault.
says she sleeps a little better with a little sausage in her, oh my gosh. Anyway, that's a good place to end it.
Yeah.
Gil, thank you for coming out.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having
It's
me.
awesome, man. Thank
And
you.
on that note, I've been Rob.
Bald.
I'm Isaias.
And I'm Jake.
Thank you guys. We've been Gentlemen No Class. We'll see you next
I
time.
gotta piss so bad.